ねえ、こことは違うどこか新しい世界に行きたいと思ったことってない？連れてってあげる新しい世界に
新しい世界、いい言葉だ。まさに俺が望んでいるものさ。
ここがどこかあんたたちが何なのかは知らないけど、私の敵ってことよね。
平和の邪魔をするなら皆殺しだ。下品な奴らだ。私たちは歓迎されてないということになる。当たり前だ。あれ見えてねえのか。いいがね。ほら腹減った。それでいいのか。
何その悪党顔。
いいから女だ。野蛮な手段はこのまま。
やっぱり私ってば天才。
60時間後に我々の首を吹き飛ぶ。死んでもかなわない犯罪者の部隊、スーサイドスクワットが。
Welcome back, everyone. It's Charlie. This will be my brand new Suicide Squad trailer video. There's a brand new Suicide Squad movie that they're releasing next year. Surprise, surprise. But it's Suicide Squad Isekai. It's basically a Suicide Squad anime that Warner Brothers had WIT Studio do. I've done a couple anime videos on the channel. I don't do them all the time every single week. Like, there aren't a lot of anime shows. Like, I did Attack on Titan for a while, but it's a little bit different doing videos for anime stuff than it is for live action stuff. Mostly because of copyright reasons, just because copyright rules over in Japan are vastly, vastly different than they are everywhere else in the world. So it makes it way harder to actually do videos for anime stuff. But it actually looks pretty solid. I'll explain what's going on and how this sort of fits into the grand scheme of James Gunn's big reboot of DC movies and DC TV shows, because he's also rebooting all the animated stuff so that it's going to be canon with the live action stuff, kind of the way that Marvel is doing things right now. If you're brand new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get all the videos. I'll probably give away a couple copies when this comes out because I believe it's going straight to DVD. Like, it's not going to be a theatrical release, but we'll probably find out more about that soon. Most of Warner Brothers' animated DC stuff is all pretty solid. They have a Justice League Crisis on Infinite Earths movie that's coming out next year. It's actually a 3-part movie, like part 1 is coming out at the beginning of the year. I've already done a trailer video for that. It's basically meant to be a straight-up retelling of the Crisis on Infinite Earths origin story, but using the Tomorrowverse of characters, like the current continuity of their animated universe the past couple of years. I believe that parts 2 and parts 3 of that movie are coming out later during 2024, but basically, that is a straight-to-home video release. That's like the Jensen Ackles version of Batman, the Darren Criss version of Superman, all Tomorrowverse stuff, the stuff that started with Superman Man of Tomorrow. In the past, I've considered all the DC animated stuff to be like a completely separate universe, just because you have stuff like Batman the Animated Series, which is amazing, obviously, but it's kind of set off in its own universe. Then you have the traditional DC animated universe that most of us think of when we think of the DC animated universe. They ended that, or they started a reboot of that with Justice League Apocalypse War. That rebooted into the Tomorrowverse. Now they're doing the same thing, rebooting into James Gunn's DCU animated stuff. So essentially, this Suicide Squad Isekai is meant to be an Elseworlds kind of production. He talked a little bit about this in his big announcement video where he talked about the reboot of everything live action and animated. There'll be some Elseworlds stuff happening in the future, like Matt Reeves' Batman universe is still considered Elseworlds in live action. If you're not familiar with WIT Studio, the people that actually made this over in Japan, they do a lot of solid work, like they did Attack on Titan for a few seasons. I did do a couple seasons worth of videos for that. Right now, they're doing Spy X Family, which is actually a pretty great series. I watch that in my free time, but I don't make videos for it. There are a lot of their series that I watch that I don't actually make videos for, like Great Pretender on Netflix, Ranking of Kings, that was pretty solid. They did the first season of Vinland Saga, which is amazing. I'd also advise watching that if you haven't seen it yet. In the actual animation, the characters, the voiceover performance actually does seem pretty solid, even though if you're not really familiar with the isekai genre or anime just in general, it does look pretty crazy. Right now in the world of anime, the isekai genre is just so overwhelmingly popular. Like, if you went to Crunchyroll, for instance, and you looked through all the different shows, most of them would probably be some iteration of an isekai type of trope. There are a lot of differences within the isekai genre, like different types of tropes, but typically it involves a character dying and then reincarnating into another world with new powers or some crazy stat boost, and the other worlds that they get reincarnated to tend to lean towards fantasy tropes. Like you go from modern day on your world, you get reincarnated to a fantasy world with medieval level technology, but you have magical powers now. It'd be kind of like getting reincarnated into like a World of Warcraft type of universe. In fact, characters being reincarnated into video games, MMO games, is actually an isekai genre or subgenre. There have been so many types of isekai shows and isekai manga that there have been hundreds of different iterations on that whole formula. Just starting at the beginning of the trailer footage here, the main characters it seems like during this, the people that'll actually be on Task Force X on the actual Suicide Squad are Harley Quinn, Joker's in the movie, but he doesn't seem like he's going to be on the team, Peacemaker, King Shark, Clayface, and Deadshot, and obviously Amanda Waller running the team. The footage is all over the place. I just kind of give you some mishmash of what's going on with the actual plot, but it seems like Amanda Waller finds or gains access to some magical or technological portal that gives them access to the other world, setting up the whole isekai plot. Or maybe it's a creature in the other universe that opens up the portal to their world, threatening it, and that's why she's sending the Suicide Squad to kill whoever opened the portal. But it's basically the Suicide Squad characters being put on a fantasy world in another universe. Like that's what all the orcs are. During the trailer, Harley Quinn talks about them having 60 hours to complete their mission before the bombs in their heads explode, so they can't just run off and stay in the other universe forever. Harley Quinn seems like she tells Joker about it, or he learns about it, and maybe he also tries to take over this other world. You'd imagine Batman is somewhere in there chasing him down while this is all going on too, like he captures them, and that's how she winds up on this Task Force X. That's usually the typical formula, like she's in Gotham City with Joker, Batman catches them, throws them in prison, Bell Rev, and then it's when Amanda Waller picks them up and puts her on Task Force X. One of the funny things about this too, like them doing a Suicide Squad or Harley Quinn type of anime, is that they actually said when they were making Batman the Animated Series way back in the 90s, when the animators were working on it, they actually said that Bruce Timm told them that some of their early work on it was too quote-unquote anime, like make it less anime, make it look more like American animation. I don't know what that would have looked like, but I think it's just the idea, the way the anime characters move, just some of the anime tropes in general that you see in those animated series. Harley Quinn, though, in particular, just feels kind of like she leans towards anime anyway, like she works as an anime character just as good as she does as regular animation. They start the trailer with Harley Quinn and Joker looking like they're taking over some tower here with a bunch of businessmen all wrapped up with those Joker faces on them. This is probably before she gets captured and put on the Suicide Squad, but she has this voiceover from later in the movie where she talks about going to the other world. We get a little bit of the chase in Gotham with Joker's car. This is probably when Batman captures them. We get a little shot of the portal in Amanda Waller's base. This is how they get to the other world. This might be where the portal actually generates. The interesting thing, though, is that in a lot of Suicide Squad stories, usually the main villain winds up actually being Amanda Waller. Like, she winds up being worse than, like, the Joker character. So maybe she was actually doing something, experimenting with something, and that's how the portal got opened on her side of things. That was kind of the idea with James Gunn's more recent Suicide Squad movie in 2021. The idea that the American government was the real main villain, and Amanda Waller was trying to cover up a bunch of shady stuff they had done, and that's why she sent the Suicide Squad to Corto Maltese to deal with Starro and the Thinker. The Thinker basically explained that he was an employee, like a regular, upstanding employee of the American government, so really they were the terrible ones. And throughout the trailer, you just see all the Suicide Squad characters just having their adventure on the other world. Not really sure how they're going to wrap this up, though. Like, obviously, they'll probably come back to the main universe. But they don't really list when they're actually releasing this. They just say it's coming in 2024 at some point. Now, I know people are asking what's going to happen with the Suicide Squad in James Gunn's new DCU, because a lot of people assume because now he's the Kevin Feige over at DC, he's just going to bring all of his DCEU stuff into the DCU and make them canon. He did say that Peacemaker Season 2 will be inside the DCU, so pretty much all the Peacemaker characters who are Suicide Squad characters will transition over, like they'll still be playing their characters. He didn't really explain how they're going to explain the whole reboot thing, because at the end of Peacemaker Season 1, Peacemaker literally comes up real close and sees the faces of some of the Justice League characters. So at least at some point during Peacemaker Season 2, they have to address the Justice League looking completely different. Like, wait a minute, that's not Aquaman, that's not the Flash, what happened? My whole idea, and I've talked about this in previous videos, and I think this would totally work, just totally be in the tone of the character, is that you have Peacemaker serve as sort of like the psycho pirate in this big reboot Crisis on Infinite Earth style. Within the context of the story, Psycho Pirate was cursed to remember everything that happened before the big Crisis reboot, so to speak. So he remembered all these universes, all these other versions of characters that died. What James Gunn can do in the new DCU live action stuff is just have Peacemaker be that character, because his whole thing is that he's just always spouting off about crazy conspiracy theories. Nobody ever believes anything that he says because it's so crazy. So he can just start Peacemaker season 2 complaining about how the Justice League is different and everything rebooted. Like, there's a big reboot in the universe. How come nobody's talking about it? But everyone post all your reactions to the Suicide Squad anime. I'll do more videos when they release more footage in the next couple of months. It'll probably come out sometime in the first half of 2024. There's a bunch of big stuff coming up this week. My Marvel What If Season 2 episodes will start soon. I'll try to do some videos for the Aquaman movie, like a post-credit scene video, full breakdown, Easter eggs, that kind of stuff. There's also the Zack Snyder Rebel Moon movie. I'll try to do a couple videos for that too. Speaking of big DC reboots, I just did a Henry Cavill Warhammer video because he's going to be doing a Warhammer series and Warhammer movies over at Amazon. Click here to learn about that. It looks like it's going to be badass. And click here for that Justice League Crisis on Infinite Earths trailer video. Thank you so much for watching. Everyone stay safe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.